You are always held with unconditional love. When you look up at the moon and stars, you can feel your soul's connection to the entire universe and all its beings. It's possible to make every decision with your mind, body, and spirit in total alignment and wholeness. I'm Divinely Jennifer, translating astrology and health in ways you've never experienced before so that you can choose the path that is right for you. And this is the Juicy Astrology for the new moon in Scorpio on November 4th, 2021. Welcome. Hello, beauties. I'm Divinely Jennifer, here to bring you the Juicy Astrology for the new moon in Scorpio on November 4th, 2021, which is happening at 2:14 p.m. Pacific Daylight Time here on the west coast of the U.S., 5:14 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time for the eastern side of the U.S., and 9:14 p.m. UK time. This Scorpio new moon happens at 12 degrees, 40 minutes of Scorpio, almost exactly Uranus, who is at 12 degrees, 47 minutes of Taurus. I'll also be talking about the energy of the entire lunar cycle through December 3rd, 2021, when we will fall under the brief shadow of a total solar eclipse. I'll provide you with separate videos for the Juicy Astrology for the rest of the lunar cycle over the coming days and weeks. You don't want to miss it because it is really juicy. You may already be feeling the intense Scorpio energy out there. Intensity is, of course, one of the major energies of Scorpio. It's unavoidable and part of the transformations and deep awareness that Scorpio offers us. Some quick housekeeping. For those of you who missed the new moon in Scorpio webinar that I did on Sunday morning, you can still purchase the recording and slides via my website at www.divinelyjennifer.com/webinar. When you click the purchase button, it will route you over to my earth-based medicine website where you can complete the purchase. Then I can send you the link to download the slides and recording. In this video, I'll talk more about the energy of the Scorpio lunar cycle and less about the specifics of the astrology, which I do cover in the webinar. In the webinar, I also discuss how you can support your health and well-being naturally throughout the energy of the lunar cycle, which is going to ask a lot of us, and in return, give us a whole lot back. And even though Mercury is direct, I've been dealing with a lot of technical issues lately. So I ask for your patience and forgiveness, and perhaps a dash of humor and compassion as well. I desperately need to hire a technical assistant, but the lawyer creating my LLC has gone AWOL. And that is exactly the energy right now. People have reached their limits. They're done. It's the death of an idea, an ideal, a job, a community. So they close the doors that no longer serve them, just like I did last year. For a while, they may feel like they are in purgatory before finding and opening the new door that feels right. But that time in purgatory can be so transformational. I'll talk more about this in a bit. First, some good news. We could all use some good news. Are you ready? Here goes. The new earth is already here. Yes, I'm going to say that again. The new earth is already here. We are awakening to her, not the other way around. What? That's right. The joke is on us, or at least on me. We've been waiting for her to develop before our very eyes, and she's been here all along. We don't have to wait any longer. For months, I have been saying that this new moon in Scorpio on November 4th is a precursor to the new earth, that the lunar cycles for the next several months are preparing us for a larger shift this spring. I still believe that spring 2022 will be one of the most magical times we have experienced in decades, if not our lifetimes. However, I was mistaken about the timing about the emergence of the new earth. She is already here, my loves. The question is, How do we transform and rebirth ourselves so that we are able to experience her beauty and magic? By committing to ourselves, to our beauty and magic, by choosing to awaken to her every morning. We can't compromise by checking the news or messages or email first thing in the morning. That is such a buzzkill. We have to connect first and foremost with her. Make her part of our routine to keep our frequency high and our energy field clear. Our job, our adventure, especially as we steer into more Sagittarius energy after the partial full moon lunar eclipse on November 19th, is to be curious partners with her, to listen to learn from, and to lean into her wisdom. I'm the first to admit this is easier said than done. Hopefully, it will be easier next week for those of us in the US when it's no longer so dark in the morning. Those of you in the UK and Europe have already switched your clocks back, so your morning should be just a tad brighter. What I'm saying here about the paradigm of the new earth might be counter from what others are saying, but Mother Earth has been very clear in her communications to me over the last few months, and I have learned to take her messages to heart. She even told me, and just turn the volume down for a minute if your kids are listening. She even told me she is a badass bitch. Yes, those were her exact words. And I should stop worrying about her. Stop worrying about the fires, stop worrying about drought, stop worrying about all that stuff happening. And instead, I should focus on sharing my gifts. So who am I to argue with Mother Earth and Gaia? I know that puts me on the end of the woo-woo spectrum, and my North Node in Aquarius is just fine with that. If you want to know where your North Node sits with all of the messages coming down the pike, I invite you to book an astrology and health session with me via my website, www.divinelyjennifer.com. We all have our unique gifts. Most of our systems, starting with the education system in which we're indoctrinated from a very young age, don't want us to realize those gifts, because then we wouldn't want to go along with all of the other systems that compromise our gifts. Our divine natal blueprint, our birth chart, holds so many keys and clues into how we get to make the world a better place and how we can support our health and well-being while doing so. It doesn't matter how young or old we are, how many Saturn returns we've had, and how we're feeling physically. We all have our gifts. Let's dive more deeply into this new moon and the lunar cycle. This new moon in Scorpio is full of duality and polarity. It's a tug of war. Every time you reclaim your power, someone tries to take it away from you. Pull. The trick is to surrender. I'm not saying to surrender your power. You're surrendering the battle. There's no need to battle, even if Mars wants you to engage and fight. This was one of the biggest lessons during the Libra cycle. Let the rope go. You don't have to play tug of war. Let the rope go. That's how you reclaim your power. Drop the rope and walk away. Take a breath, rake some leaves, hug your child or your sweetie, get some licks from your pup, listen to your cat purr, go out and hear the birds sing. One of the ways this polarity shows up is through the spectrum of frequency manipulation. So this frequency of manipulation to empowerment to sovereignty, it's all one frequency from a low vibration to a high vibration. Now, this is Scorpio we're talking about. So although I desire to stay as high vibe as I can, Scorpio asks that I address his shadows before I get into the light, the transformation, the rebirth. It is our journey through the shadows that allows us to find the gifts and the light. And there is so much manipulation in the 3D world, especially through fear. We've all experienced it, not only in the last 18 months, but in the last 5 years, the last 50 years, and maybe even the last 1500 years and beyond. In today's world, you have to turn off the media, the news, and social media and listen to your inner truth. Otherwise, you'll get swept away in the fear river, which is currently overflowing its banks after months and months of storms. I see fear being spread by many different factions. There is no one group that hasn't sown fear in some way. I did it too for a while, kind of naively, until I realized that the fear didn't serve me, my gifts, my family, or my community. It was really my 21-year-old daughter who helped me wake up to this. These millennials and Gen Z kids who have Neptune and Uranus in the same sign can be so wise. How many people do you know who have gone against their inner truth this year because someone has made them feel guilty or shamed them or told them they would lose their job or couldn't see their family if they followed their inner truth? Maybe this has happened to you. In my not very humble opinion, this coercion goes against everything I was taught in nursing school and naturopathic college. I have one friend who was told by her daughter and son in law that she couldn't see her grandson unless she went against her inner truth. I mean, who does that to people? People who are blinded by fear, greed, and power. That's who. That's the shadow side of Scorpio. You see, Scorpio knows how to use fear as a weapon to manipulate for its own power. The shadow of Scorpio is also willing to lie. And of course, so much manipulation happens through being dishonest. Some Scorpio suns and risings, not all, but a few, have no problem with lying to get what they want, or really to avoid the truth, to avoid confrontation. If you've ever been in relationship with someone like this, you know what I'm talking about. What they don't realize is that once you wake up to the lies, the relationship is over. You can't trust them anymore. Even if you see them lying to others and you don't know they're specifically lying to you, you'd lose the trust because you start to question how they might be lying to you because you're waking up. Kapow! It's not the pretty wake up gently alarm clock that I have on my phone. It's like a 2x4 and Metallica blasting in your face to wake you up. And you're awake to it forever. It's really a beautiful thing to behold once you get past the pain and the shock of it. And trust me, waking up is such a blessing. People with a lot of Scorpio in their chart can also be manipulated or lied to as well, especially in the codependency of addiction. They want to love the person with the addiction so deeply. They are fully in love with that person's potential, but they get enmeshed in the enabling, hoping and praying the person will transform. And when that person wakes up, it is truly a sight to behold, intensely painful at first, and then they're like Linda Hamilton in The Terminator. And if you saw my Instagram post when Mars moved into Scorpio on Friday, you know what I'm talking about. It's one of the magical transformations Scorpio offers us. We avoid confrontation until we wake up to the power of our truth, which awakens our sovereignty. It's another kapow. We realize that we're all going to die anyway, so we might as well stand in our power courageously, sometimes fearlessly. Scorpio isn't afraid of death because it knows that beyond the in-between lies rebirth. So many of us have been in the in-between for the last year. We let something die, but we don't know what's next. For some of you, you might feel like Rocket Man with this new moon and the Scorpio lunar cycle, as if Elon Musk customized little rockets for your boots, and then you blast off. For others, the blast off will come in the spring. Trust me, the blast off is coming for all of us. We might as well be ready for it. Marie Kondo would also appreciate this new moon, which urges us to let go and release what we no longer value: possessions, material goods, clothes, clutter, philosophies, stories, and wounds. Uranus in Taurus is shaking up the material world. The days of the Madonna song are over. There is all this talk in the world about supply chains and scarcity. Anyone trying to buy a new car right now is SOL. But why not recycle and buy used? This is another way to scare people into buying more toilet paper, more pasta, more stuff. Except, what if you realized how abundant you really are? Humor me just for a minute and say the words, I am abundant. Ready? I am abundant. Doesn't that feel good? Now, humor me a little more and say the words, we are abundant. Ready? We are abundant. Yes, yes, we are. And Scorpio knows this. We are abundant because we are alive. And because it's way more fun to be alive with others, a little more intense, but also more enjoyable. Scorpio invites us to partner, to collaborate, to share our resources with one another, not only as a way to survive a cold winter, but that helps too. I'll share my blanket with you, and you share your bread with me, and we'll make it to April. We can also stay warm by having wild sex under the blanket. That's Scorpio too. Scorpio also invites us to share our wealth and financial resources with each other, whether you have $1 or $100 or $1 billion. Scorpio says, collaborate with each other, share your gifts, because Libra teaches that 1 + 1 = 3 when we are coming from a place of love. That's abundance math, and you don't learn it in school. Scorpio teaches us to share. It teaches us that we are wealthy together versus when we are hoarding and alone. After all, we don't take any of our stuff with us when we die. We leave all the money, all the iPhones and computers and jewels and clothes and even the perceived power we think we might have behind. All we take with us is how we felt, both the highs and the lows. We take with us the love, the connection, and the lessons. We take our soul, and that's all we get when we die. This new moon and Scorpio lunar cycle are such a beautiful opportunity, such a beautiful offering of what you have and what you are ready to share with others. Materially, absolutely. And also the part of your soul and your gift that you are ready to share. There can be fear and trepidation because of our sacred wounds of rejection. So you can use Mars in Scorpio to give you courage in spite of your fear. So many of you listening to this have Neptune in Scorpio in your natal birth chart. Neptune was in Scorpio from 1955 to 1970. The shadow side of Neptune in Scorpio, and Scorpio in general, is turning to substances like alcohol to suppress your fear, turning to sex and drugs so that you can't feel the depths, can't feel the intensity of your feelings. Of course, the reality is that we feel the depths. We feel the pain even more intensely when the drugs or buzz or sex wears off. So then we do it again. The Vioxx and opioid crisis fell heavily on the shoulders of the generation with Neptune in Scorpio. So Vioxx came first, and then the opioid crisis after that. And that was because of the power and greed of the pharmaceutical companies controlling people who were trying to control their pain. For those of you with this transit, with Neptune and Scorpio in your natal chart, the high vibration of Neptune in Scorpio says to transform your fear and overcome it through your connection with the divine, knowing and trusting that the universe always has your back, especially when you are aligned with your soul, when your actions come from a place of soul alignment. What does your day feel like when you take a step towards making your dreams come true? This actually applies to all of us. Not just to people with Neptune and Scorpio, but all of us. Trusting in the divine and then sharing your gifts and resources generously and unconditionally. It's a fast track, a wormhole, and a quantum leap into manifesting abundance and prosperity, and ultimately, and more importantly, love. Which brings me back to the beginning of this video. We awaken to the new earth within ourselves when we birth ourselves, when we shine the light on our beautiful depths and the calling of our soul, when we shine a light through sharing our love, our hearts, our resources, and our gifts with others. This is not about giving away everything you have like St. Francis did, unless you are absolutely drawn to giving everything away. Here we incorporate the medicine of the Libra lunar cycle, which was so challenging this year. those lessons around the balance of giving and receiving in a beautiful co-creation between two beings. Both Libra and Scorpio want us to give so that we can receive. We can't have one without the other. Libra brings beauty, balance, and harmony, while Scorpio brings beauty to the shadows. We are beautiful not despite, but because of our shadows and how we have the power as individuals to transform the shadows into our gifts. Use the darkness to get to the core, the seed of truth, your truth that you want to plant this spring. What seed of truth do you want to plant? This new moon asks us to go deep into our core to transform, to let die all that we don't need, all that extra stuff that we hold on to when we are in scarcity mode. You don't need any of it because you are abundant. We are abundant together. All of us, without exception, we are all abundant. We are all abundant together. Okay, beauties. I know that's a lot to take in. I went and took a break outside, got all wet in the rain because the dogs were running around, and now it's dark outside. So the light of my video is so different. And that's kind of perfect energy for Scorpio. The darkened light outside, a little dampness out there, the shadows, and feeling into all that. And I'm so grateful to have you on this journey, watching you all share your gifts with the world, watching you all have the courage to show up and awaken to the beautiful new earth that is here for all of us. She really is here for all of us. I know this is a lot to take in, so I'll come back with a second video in the next couple of days with the Juicy Astrology through the first quarter moon. In the meantime, if you need any love, some help, some support, please book an astrology and health reading on my website at www.divinelyjennifer.com. I love you. Thank you so much for joining us here. Thank you for all of your shares and subscribes and comments. Please subscribe if you don't want to miss the next video. You can subscribe here via YouTube or on my website at www.divinelyjennifer.com. Thanks so much for being here, and I'll see you the next time. I'm Divinely Jennifer, and this has been the Juicy Astrology for the new moon in Scorpio on November 4th, 2021.